Look, it's a target.
Ooh, a fancy target. Hey, it's Steve with Clear Direct. This is part 2 of the sleep apnea video with the specific focus on Air Force. All right, couple caveats. Again, I'm not a doctor. This is my own personal experience. It's not endorsed by the DoD or US Air Force. This is my own video. Other caveats is that this is coming from the perspective of one F-15 single-seat fighter pilot, and it's not necessarily going to be applicable to all air crew in the US Air Force, nor will it be all applicable to air crew and other services. So hopefully it's the same, hopefully we're progressing, and hopefully you can get something out of this. And my goal with making this video is to just spread awareness such that we're not super afraid of opening up about a potential sleep apnea issue. So again, if you haven't seen my other video, there's a lot of background on what sleep apnea is. I'll just go ahead and leave that there, and I'll just talk my experience in the Air Force when I did get diagnosed with sleep apnea, obstructive sleep apnea, and what that meant for my flying career. I'm gonna give you a couple good things at the top. Number one, you'll be safer, more restful if you get treated for obstructive sleep apnea. Number two, military guys, 50% disability, VA disability, all right? So that's a pretty big silver lining to this whole mess. Number three, long-term health benefits, all right? If you get this treated, you could have heart problems, liver problems, the diabetes, not to mention the short-term wakefulness issues. So as long as it's treated, they say upwards of 90% success rate getting back into the cockpit. So as soon as I had that diagnosis, told my flight doc, and I'm grounded. So I've been DNIF now for about 5 months, hoping to get cleared to fly after this testing at the ACS here at Wright Pat. Pretty much invariably what I understand is if you're a pilot with obstructive sleep apnea, regardless of how in-depth your testing was, you got a university accredited sleep study, PSG polysomnography with multiple doctors, didn't matter. They wanted me to come here and get retested. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. Let me address non-pilots, at least in the Air Force. Okay, so CISOs, WISOs, engineers, boomers, loadmasters. You guys most likely won't have to come to Wright Pat, and you will need a waiver, but I think that they trust the PSGs or the polysomnographs tests that you can get done on the open market or at your medical center. So I think that's good news there, as well as you'll walk away with that 50% VA disability benefits at the end as well. Okay, so for day one of your joyous 5 or so days at Wright Pat Air Force Base, you're gonna check in at about 7:30 in the morning with your case manager. Depending on where you're coming from, Kadena, Laken Heath, West Coast, East Coast, hopefully East Coast because it's on the East time zone in Western Ohio here, but there's going to be probably some jet lag, but regardless, they expect you to show up and do some neuropsych eval and a full day of testing, followed by the cherry on top, which is another sleep test that night. Okay, so I was exhausted. Neuropsych eval, sitting down to a computer for about 4 to 5 hours, answering true-false questions, answering multiple choice questions, doing arithmetic. I mean, it's painful, and I asked the question, why are we doing this for sleep apnea? And the answer I was given by the psychologist was essentially, if your sleep apnea is to the point where it's affecting your brain, we're gonna find out about it. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. There's so many questions that if you can just stay awake through them and answer most of them the best you can, it's gonna be just fine. Finishing up that day, you go get some dinner, you go shower, and then get ready for your sleep test. So you go across the parking lot to the hospital, and it's at 8 o'clock at night. You walk in through the ER doors because everything else is closed. You kind of wander around till you find the sleep ward or the sleep department, and you check in with those folks, and then they go through the standard PSG polysomnograph where you get all this goop put in your hair, and eventually hair ripped off 4-year-old virgin style off your legs from the sensors on your legs and chest. And all the funness that goes along with a PSG. What I did was a split PSG. What that means is for the first few hours, they're testing you without treatment. So they want to get your baseline obstructive sleep apnea numbers. Then they'll come in, they'll put your mask on, and then see how well you're dealing with treatment. So hopefully those numbers will come back and I'll be good to go. But I was pretty wrecked this morning after not a very good night of sleep, travel, etc. So today, have the day off. That's what I'm doing here. And then to kind of rest up, get a good night of sleep tonight. Oh, you do have to give blood. So even more whipped cream of the cherry on top was after I woke up this morning all groggy and whatnot and pulling hair out left and right. They send you to the lab to get thyroid tested. So you don't have to fast or anything, just one vial of blood. And then you have your day off. And then tomorrow, I don't know what the medical test is. Okay, it's called the MWT, or Maintenance of Wakefulness Test. But I'm halfway through it. I'm on a break. I like my name for it better. Okay. I've named it the Bet You Can't Stay Awake test. Bet You Can't Stay Awake test. So what it is, essentially they'll put all the wires on you to get all your information. And then they're going to put you in a room, nice and comfortable room, turn off all the lights with the exception of one night light, and time you for 40 minutes, and you cannot fall asleep. You got to sit there, no distractions, no iPhone, no Samsung phone, no Apple Watch, no nothing for 40 minutes. Sounds not too bad. Hour and a half break, do it again. Hour and a half break, do it again. See where this is going? Hour and a half break, do it again. 4 40-minute sessions where you are in a room and you just can't fall asleep. And if you do, you fail the test. KC-97 Strato Freighter, and then a naked F-86. Pretty cool. Anyway, pinch yourself, you know, G-strain, do whatever you got to do to stay awake. But it just sounds pretty painful. Anyway, that's it. And then I guess Thursday morning, they'll give me whatever out brief that they need to do. They'll tell me the results of the sleep test, of the Bet You Can't Stay Awake test. And then they already gave me my out brief for the neuropsych eval, which surprisingly went okay. So anyway, that all gets wrapped up into a recommendation. They will send that recommendation to your MAGCOM, who ultimately makes the decision on whether you fly again or not. So they're telling me that if everything, you know, looks good, and obviously if it goes well, there's no reason that they wouldn't, and they're really trying to get you back airborne again. So if we believe them and everything does go well medically, then hopefully it'll be airborne in about 2 weeks, just in the nick of time, so I don't need a recurrency course down at Klamath Falls to fly the F-15 again, which also is just in time to mobilize with our unit for some stuff. So anyway, that's it. The objective here was to inform you guys on what the process is, what I went through, with the ultimate goal of spreading awareness and making pilots safer. It's kind of the name of the game. And also, you know, living healthier, longer lives. It sounds cheesy, I know, as a fighter pilot saying that kind of stuff, but dude, I got kids. I want to live, I want to be around for them. Get it treated if you think you might have it, or at least check. The best thing that happens is you find out you don't got it, and now you're good to go. So anyway, that's it. That's the painful stuff that is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base for this sort of testing. So some things to note when making your orders. Do make your orders for the week that it requires, knowing that you'll probably be back early. Flew out on a Sunday, made orders and travel arrangements to come back on the following Saturday, but everything's going pretty smooth, and I'm hoping to get out of here Thursday morning. They even were mentioned Wednesday afternoon, but flight-wise, it just makes more sense to go out Thursday morning. So fingers crossed on that one. You do need a rental car. Make your orders for full rate per diem, because you are not allowed to go to the DFAC, which, let's face it, you wouldn't anyway. It's for students only. Portable CPAP. I'm lucky the Air Force bought me one. I'm on active duty orders right now, greater than a year out from retirement, and I travel. So those 3 criteria met, I was able to get one purchased for me, and it is a godsend. Not only in the fact that it's just smaller, but it's a second device. I don't need to unplug and pack up my home device and then repack it up and then et cetera, et cetera. You got 2 separate devices, you leave one in your roller bag, and you leave one at home. That's a lot. That's about all I can think of right now. Let me know in the comments if you've got a different experience or if you have any questions that I might be able to either point you in the right direction or answer, at least from my experience. So if you also have any different experiences with your service, if it's a different service or a different country, please let us know and we can share in maybe an upcoming video. So I hope it was helpful, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Till then, clear direct.